Welcome to the Logistics Point interviews. I'm joined by Chris Jones from Descartes Systems Group, and we're going to talk about innovation in the supply chain, why companies do it, how they do it. Chris, thank you very much for joining me.
Well, great, Nick. Thanks for having me.
Descartes did a survey around and looked at innovation in the supply chain. What did you find when it comes to innovation?
The last couple of years have been a big catalyst for innovation. Let's face it, a lot of people found that their supply chains were lacking, right? And their performance wasn't really where they needed it to be, or just the business flat out changed on them. 59% of the respondents, and these are from North America and from Europe, actually accelerated the pace of innovation, started more programs, really put more of an emphasis on it. Technology is a key part of it, but innovation is really about, let's call it fundamental change or transformation. And the idea behind innovation is what you're doing is seen by the customer as being potentially differentiated. I'm going to look at new delivery services. I'm going to maybe have a different sourcing strategy, these kinds of things that allows me to compete better.
And what were the areas where the most focus was put on when it came to innovating?
In the area of what we would call digitization, so let's call that the larger transformational type of stuff, the number one thing was fulfillment. So essentially, if you think about this is really changing, again, your performance and what the customer might see, right? We also saw a number of other things too that I think are pretty important. One of the questions that we asked was, okay, for instance, what types of systems do you think are the most innovative? So the top answer at like about 27% was their WMS. Now, what's equally interesting was we asked people then, what area is one that needs the most innovation? And the answer is WMS at about roughly the same number. Things like TMS, if you will, and again, order fulfillment in a more broader sense, these all show up in roughly the same type of numbers. So essentially for most people, they may have something they think they do well, but they have a lot of things they really think they need to work on.
I think it's also interesting to understand why people give this answer. Is it easy to analyze and understand that, yes, this is an area, it's a problematic for us, but why is it?
There's a couple things we did along the way here. One of them was we did ask them, what's the primary reason for innovation, right? And so what came in tied at 37% each was cost and resilience. Resilience is probably not a surprise for a lot of people given what's happened. Cost is one that's a function of today, right? Again, look at the interest rates. People are reacting to current economics and, if you will, those structural things that hit them before. The other thing we also did was we asked them some things around, let's say, how well their business was doing. What's their financial performance? What does management think of innovation, right, in the supply chain? Do they think it's important or not, right? And then another one we asked was also around employee turnover. So if you're not in a situation where you have, I'll call it stability with your workforce, with your leadership and so forth, then we think it was going to be much harder. Senior management belief, if you will, and support and innovation is absolutely critical. It really tells you, for instance, how fast people are moving. Obviously, financial performance matters, and you could almost say, is this, as we would say, chicken or the egg story? Does financial performance come before innovation, or does innovation come before financial performance? And we actually think it's the latter, right? And that really also was part of what we saw in the study. And then employee turnover, it really did play out the way we thought it would. Those companies that did a better job of keeping their, the people they have, all right, and if you will, not cycling through people, were ones that were in much better shape to innovate.
So it's not really innovation as a tool to stabilize things, rather to push things even further as a growth.
Exactly. It is about pushing them further, but if you will, pushing them further in a managed way, right? Other questions we asked, as an example, were things like, at what pace do you think your company is innovating? Those people who, had senior management backing, who were doing better financially and had better turnover, all scored much higher on pace. And we think that's really important. If you don't have management support, in particular, you're not doing so well financially, or you have experiencing high employee turnover. These are all significant hindrances to innovation.
How would you understand supporting innovation and supporting your people to innovate?
How you are measuring the value of innovation. And this is an area we think that companies have not always done a good job. So it isn't just about the classic thing in supply chain has been like cost and I'll call it basic service, like being on time and full, right? And people want to claim victory at that point. That's actually not it. That's base expectation. It's really around things like how are you using innovation to grow revenue, or to improve customer stickiness, or create some level of competitive differentiation, right? The second one, and this was the number one issue, by the way, for inhibiting innovation, was management's tolerance for risk. Innovation, if you will, is about getting out there, all right? It's not doing what everybody else is doing. So if you will, as you move to, I'll call it a little bit of the unknown, there's always a chance that things are not going to work, right? And so tolerance for risk is also important. It doesn't mean you bet the company, all right, but it does mean that people have to understand is that it's not, everything is not buttoned up. If it's all buttoned up, it's probably not innovative in the sense that it's everybody's figured it all out already.
How do we manage this transition between the past and the new normal for a company? Stop
patting your back for your past successes. There are a lot of companies that basically do something really innovative, and I'll be honest with you, they get stuck. If there's a understand what you've done is great, and then move on from it, right? For your own organization, you want to paint a vision and create a culture of what's the next thing we're going to go do, right? And also get participation from not just leadership, but really, I'll call it the workforce. But it's invariably what we see is it's your best and brightest that they feel like they can participate, right? Because what they'll do is they'll bring everybody else with them. Those people are typically the ones that are respected in the organization. So as you go from the things you've done to say, what's the next thing we're going to do, is having those ideas and having, I'll call it believability by the rest of the organization that you can get there, right? And you have people that can do it, which is why we focus, for instance, on things like turnover, because if you do have a lot of turnover, then you don't necessarily have the ability to create those kinds of cultures that we're just talking about.
Do we focus on innovation at the core functions of the company, or maybe start from more peripheral?
I don't think it's either or there. And so in a lot of cases, people have to, I'll call it, take those things that really are the day-to-day operations and look at what you're going to do to make them significantly better. Others maybe are in better shape, don't feel that's the issue, that what they want to do is they want to, if you will, expose their logistics or supply chain capabilities to their customers. So do a better job at things like booking deliveries and offering services around deliveries as an example.
How can we manage an innovation project that didn't go as planned?
Start with the why did it fail part of it. And if you will, not let it be a finger pointing exercise. I think that's one of the biggest things that's out there, which is you may have had a vision for something. It could be tied to a specific technology. As you get into it, you find out that technology is not going to do it. Now, is that the vendor's fault? Is that your fault? Right? And really, that's where we want people to walk away from the fault word and just say, okay, for instance, was our vision complete enough? Did we understand the key points that we needed to have to do this? Equally, quite frankly, could be, the vendor said they have certain capabilities, but as we peel back the onion on what those capabilities are, we find out that they're, for instance, not that deep, or maybe they serve a specific market or aspect of the business that you find out is not really suitable, as an example, right? RFID was a really great example of innovation that for a lot of people just didn't go anywhere. It was okay to go do this, all right? Understanding we're taking some risk, but once you recognize, and this is the key point, once you recognize it's not going to play, right, then stop. And that's maybe the other thing that people do. They will burn a lot of time and energy.
How can Descartes help and provide support when we are looking into starting innovation and actually finishing it successfully?
So I think the first thing is in domain expertise. I look at some of the things we do in home and last mile delivery as an example, where we've worked with, literally hundreds of companies, and many of them doing extremely innovative things. And what we're able to do is look across all of them, right? And each company might have done one or two different things that could say, wow, these are pretty amazing things. And then you find out that there's other things that they haven't done. By the way, that's not negative. It's just kind of a fact. But you find someone else who's maybe tackled something that they haven't tackled, right? So what we've done is really try to look across our customers and understand it from a broader sense. We can really help them understand, I'll call it, what's the art of the possible. Now, they may have an interesting angle that we haven't done yet, but we can certainly bounce it off of what we've done. So it's really starting at that level, if you will. And then technology obviously plays an important part of that in terms of an enabler. But it really is about, I'll call it, marrying that vision with an understanding of what they can do and approaches on how to do it. And
do you think innovation will suffer because a possible recession is coming?
some people view this as a problem and some people view this as an opportunity. All of a sudden you might find that, for instance, areas of your business you didn't pay attention to and weren't innovative in were ones that all of a sudden now had significant cost impacts due to inflation, right? This is an opportunity to go into those and really get after them, where maybe in the past you didn't have the, return on investment, that might have been there. Or all of a sudden now senior management is really hot on that subject because of that, right? 2/3 of the respondents said they were going to increase their investment for the next 2 years. So given that we just did this study and the inflation has been, very high, and will stay high for a while, was what we're seeing, is that people are actually saying, I need to use it as a point of leverage for my business. So I think that's really kind of encouraging.
Can we put a number to how long and how much it should take us?
So there should be a premium on faster, okay, as opposed to impact. A lot of people, and I've seen this in the past, have had programs that go on for 2-3 years before they really begin to see value. That to me today is a risk. And again, the pandemic was a whole game changer, right? But let's face it, if you started something with 2019 assumptions and said it was going to take to 2023 to really have it go across my enterprise, you might find out that what those assumptions are just no longer valid. So we actually would like to see people clearly in the less than year time frame. For those things that you can, I'll call it, take a slice of the business, maybe you accelerate that and put a premium. Innovation is not about being perfect, all right? Innovation is really, in this case, it's about getting some results quickly, some demonstrable, and obviously significant results. But you may find that there's still challenges and it doesn't solve everything. Or I'll call it, there's some give and take. You now all of a sudden have a superior capability, but for instance, you need more resources than you plan to make it work, right? If you think the value is there, then you should do it, not say, for instance, we need to step back and get it all ironed out, right? That's a killer. So I would say measured in months is better, and get those learnings and then look at how you really scale.
Chris, thank you very much. And for everyone watching, they can learn more about Descartes, how they can help you with innovation and many other points that Chris mentioned in the description below. Thank you.